Hi, my name is Ariane Aguilar and I'm doing my one book oral report. What is Normal Sex about? Normal Sex is a book written by Jonathan Mooney, an amazing author who presents an inspiring perspective on neurodiversity. Mooney himself is neurodivergent. He was diagnosed as a kid with dyslexia and ADHD. He took his life experiences and the obstacles he faced and wrote about them in his novel. Mooney is an inspiration to many people who are also neurodiverse. His book focuses on the whole idea of not fitting in the normal standards and how that is more than okay. Who even made those standards anyways? Is something that he argues. At the end of the first chapter he says, I want to tell you how I fought my way back, not to the right side of the line, but to a sense of self and life that isn't defined by that line at all. I feel like that quote right there, that is a perfect sentence summing up what this book is truly about. The source I used was I'm Not a Monster, Schizophrenia. I chose this TED Talk as my source. Cecilia McGo shares her story about her life and struggling with schizophrenia. I thought this was the most interesting story and truly inspiring. With a disorder such as schizophrenia, where McGo constantly had hallucinations and delusions, she opened up about how she learned to endure these and live with her everyday obstacles. She talked about how her disorder has affected her life in a negative way for so long, but then she got the help she needed, and now is a mental health advocate, spreading awareness, educating others, and making individuals who may face the same struggle feel safe and heard. I know that this is a valid source and not fake news because it is from a first-person point of view. She tells her own story, so I know that this is real. How do I relate? I tend to struggle with anxiety, and although it isn't the most common form of neurodiversity like ADHD, autism, or trauma, it still is considered a form of neurodiversity. I deal with this on an everyday basis, and some days are harder than others. Going back to the TED Talk when McGo talked about finally seeking help and how it changed her life for the better, I found that I related to her in that sense. After I made an appointment with a counselor and talked about my struggle with anxiety, I started feeling better and she helped me find solutions and strategies to calm myself down. It is super important to seek help when you need it and not care what others think, because at the end of the day, it's your choice and right. And that's actually a quote from the TED Talk where McGo, she was talking about her own story on getting help, and she says that it's your own choice and right to get help. Finally, for my reviews, my first one was my friend Emma Zavaglia, who's also majored in psychology, and I just had her go through my presentation and watch the TED Talk. I knew that she would enjoy it because she's very interested in psychological disorders as well. She said this was a well put together presentation and I can tell that you put a lot of thought into it. The second review was my sister Fabiola. Her interests are volleyball, cooking, and reading. I FaceTimed my sister and read my presentation out loud to her, and she gave me her feedback. She said, I thought the source you used was very interesting and I enjoyed learning about her story. And lastly, my friend Kate Vasquez. She goes to school at UNC Greensboro, and she's majored in social work. I also read my presentation out loud to her on FaceTime as well. I think you did a really good job on the format of your presentation, and this sounds like a book I might actually want to read, was what she said.